At Team Toyota, they've been selling and servicing new and used Toyotas in your community for over 50 years. And you can reserve your next new Toyota with them today. You'll get a realistic timeline, and even in this crazy market, they won't charge you over MSRP. Or don't wait at all. With over 75 certified Toyotas, including a bunch of RAV4 and Highlanders, you can drive one home today. And you can always trust them to maintain your current vehicle. Their service and collision centers are high-tech, comfortable, and will save you time and money. Team Toyota can help you go anywhere you want, but they'll always be your hometown team. Just visit teamtoyota.net and choose from 3 locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, or Princeton. It's a big day in Phillies land. Corey Seidman and Jim Salisbury here with you on the Phillies Talk podcast, sitting here on a Friday morning as the Phillies open a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the team's red hot. The Phillies are 15 games over 500, but Jim, the biggest news is that Bryce Harper is set to return to the Phillies lineup tonight, 2 months and 1 day after breaking his thumb in San Diego. The Phillies played really well without him, and now the reigning MVP rejoins what is one of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 things there that really jump out. How well they played without him. I think they were 32-20. So they had started their rise in the month of June with him in there, and they continued it and built on it with him out of the lineup. A lot of guys really stepped up. Obviously, Schwarber and Hoskins started around June 1st, and they continued it. And guys like Real Muto and Alec Boehm's improvement has been great. And the bullpen and the starting rotation. They did a heck of a job without him, and it's going to be a real boost to get him back. And the other thing you mentioned, it's amazing how good these doctors are. He's back, like you said, 2 months and 1 day after breaking his left thumb. And I think you and I were talking that weekend, when everybody was talking, wow, is this season ending? Is he going to be back? Okay, you hope he's going to be back, but what's he going to be like? And for him to come back and do what he did on minor league rehab for a couple days, but be back 2 months and 1 day after breaking his thumb, having 3 pins in there surgically, and then great job by the medical staff and Harper and the doctors and everybody. It's amazing. 2 months and 1 day, he's going to be back on that field tonight in Citizens Bank Park. Place. I would think the place should be electric. Everybody's buzzing about his return.
Well, Jim, you've written a couple times this week that despite how well the Phillies have played, they've been playing in front of some sparse crowds. Like earlier this week against the Reds, a couple sub 20,000 crowds. But with how well the team's playing, I mean, they continue to create distance in the wild card race. The Phillies are now 2.5 games up on the Padres, 4 games up on the Brewers in the wild card race. They've kind of settled into that second spot. At this point, with the best player on the team coming back, with the Phillies, a season-high 15 games over 500 and firmly in the playoff race, it's probably time for the fans to buy into this team, right? I mean, I understand the skepticism based on how lean things have been here for years, but this is the best the Phillies have been pling since 2011.
Yeah, I think it's time to really latch on, and I think fans have. I think a lot of people are watching on TV. They're under 21,000 there last night, I believe. But instead of scratching your head and saying, where is everybody? When is everybody going to come out? I tend to applaud the 20,000 that were there and how great they were. I mean, they were watching Aaron Nola, work on his 3rd career shutout in the late innings, and they were really into it. I mean, he struck out 5 batters in the last 2 innings, and they were on their feet the whole 9th inning, booting him home. He got a couple of big strikeouts in the 9th, and then when he got that tapper back to the mound, the whole place, 20, 21,000, whatever it is. You witness a shutout, you witness a guy pitch his guts out like Aaron Nola did last night, and the whole place exploded for him, and it sounded like 40,000. So, yeah, the crowds have been about half full. The ballpark's been about half full, but the half full, they've been great. So hats off to them. I expect to see a boost on Friday night with Harper coming. And if you haven't bought in emotionally to this team, I can understand it. It's been 10 years. It's been a decade, the longest postseason drought in the National League. The times have been frustrating. So if you haven't bought in, I can certainly understand that. They've had some rough Septembers when they have slipped from playoff contention. And I know that can kind of fracture your faith in a ball club, but it's just everything feels different this year. Everything feels different this year, from the manager to the front office that went out and addressed needs at the trade deadline, and so far has gotten pretty good results from those deals. I mean, not perfect results, but pretty good results. Everything feels a little different. I'm entertained by this run. I'm fascinated by it. I kind of have that feeling of I can't wait to get to the ballpark tonight and see what happens. And that's when a team is capturing your attention and fans' attention when it becomes that everyday drama, that everyday serial. What's going to happen tonight? Okay, they had a crappy weekend against the Mets. How are they going to bounce back? That's baseball. Every day is a new chapter. Turn the page. Every day is a new story. So to me, they're interesting. They're playing winning baseball. I think the manager's a great story. The guys who have stepped up without Harper are a great story. But man, I'll tell you this, and this is in any story, this conflict, right? There are some challenges here. They've lost two, I would say, indispensable pitchers this week in Seranthony Dominguez and Zack Wheeler. Two really, really important pitchers as they get Bryce Harper back. So that's created a fascinating dynamic. How are they going to rise up and overcome this challenge? I mean, they just swept the Reds. Mission accomplished. Great job rising up and taking on that challenge. And you need to continue to do that. And fingers crossed that both of those guys, as important as they are back in early September. Maybe this is just neither injury appears to be serious. Maybe this is just a chance to get them a final rest before really hitting the gas over the final 3 weeks of September and that first week of October as the regular season stretches there, and then beyond. Because if this team's going to make any noise, both those guys need to be healthy and producing.
Well, what is the vibe regarding Zack Wheeler's injury? Right forearm tendinitis. He allowed 10 runs in 11 innings over his last two starts to the Mets. Just yesterday afternoon at the ballpark when the news came out, did the Phillies, did people seem concerned, or do they seem to think that he might only miss a couple trips through the rotation?
Well, the timing of the announcement was about 6:05 for a 7:05 start. So it was late. The clubhouse was closed. There was not really a lot of access to people. I was already upstairs in the press box. I just finished writing a Bryce Harper story when this news came out. Dave Dombrowski, the president of baseball operations, did come out and take some questions. He seemed completely unalarmed. Doesn't think it's serious. Mentioned that pitchers deal with this type of stuff. A lot of pitchers deal with this type of stuff, especially at this time of year when they've logged a lot of innings. And through my experience, he's right. Guys pitch through things all the time. He said Wheeler wanted to pitch through this and take the ball on Friday night. They decided to err on the side of caution, shut him down, and try to knock it out of there. So after the game, Rob Thompson said he felt Wheeler felt a little soreness in that forearm after the Mets start, his last Mets start, which, it was funny. Wheeler, 2 starts, he's given up a bunch of hits and runs against the Mets. Both times he said he felt great. His velocity was actually pretty good in the last start. But he said he had soreness after that game. They had tough time getting it out of there the last few days. So they're shutting him down. They hope he can be back in 2 starts and pitch on September 6th. Given the fact, they did not order an MRI. They don't think it's structural. I can see why they don't think it's serious. I agree. Pitchers get this stuff. They pitch through it. But I think if you're concerned, that's reasonable because the guy's important. It's his moneymaker. It's his forearm. It's his pitching arm. Sometimes forearm soreness can be indicative of other more serious problems. But their medical experts don't think it's any of that. They think he can be back September 6th, fresh and ready to go. But like I said, until you see him on the mound looking like Zack Wheeler, the guy we've come to expect in his time here in Philadelphia. Really good, ace-like. I think you have every right to be concerned and see till you see him back on the mound, looking like his old self. So, though they're not alarmed, it to me, yeah, it's a concern because I mean you're built on the offense, you're built on the bullpen, you're built on the backs of Aaron Nola and Zack Wheeler. You've already lost Zach Eflin. I mean, if you don't have Nola and Wheeler pitching well down the stretch and into October, I don't know that this works. So you need this guy back. The initial vibe is optimism that it's not serious, that this is going to be a rest and he's going to come back better than ever. Eager to try to speak with Zach on Friday and see what he's thinking. But based on the information we have so far, I guess it's a positive that the people with him don't think it's serious. But we need to, keep tracking it. Keep tracking it. When's he going to pick up a ball again? When is he going to throw a bullpen? How does he look? How does he feel, most importantly? And then when he gets back on the mound, how does he look? Does he look like Zack Wheeler? And at that point, we can, if he does, put down the concern.
And the other piece of this is that the Phillies don't have as much depth in the bullpen as they've had for much of the summer. With you mentioned the Sir Anthony Dominguez injury, Corey Knebel's out for the season, so pretty much thrusts David Robertson into that closer's role. Robertson has not been used 3 nights in a row after throwing 57 pitches Saturday and Sunday. So he's had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off. That's another byproduct of Nola being able to go finish that game off against the Reds. I think what Robertson was warming up in the 9th inning of that game. But, that's a really crucial piece now for the Phillies because it also puts other guys in more important roles. Like Connor Brogdon is probably now the second most important right-handed reliever in that bullpen. He's allowed 4 runs over his last 2 games. You have Sam Coonrod, who's come back and looked pretty good in his last outing. The velocity was there in the mid to high 90s. And then obviously Brad Hand and Jose Alvarado, the 2 lefties at the end of games. But this bullpen, it's not the same unit that had so much success pretty much from like June 1st up until this point. And with the top starting pitcher now on the shelf as well, yeah, things could get a little dicey.
Yeah, as I mentioned, bounce back with a nice sweep against Cincinnati, but the challenges are real. And, I understand management, doesn't want to be alarmist, and they have optimism, and that's good. They need to paint that public face. But these are real challenges because you lose a Sir Anthony from a unit that has been a strength for 2+ months, and it just throws off the balance. Everybody's now in a little bit different role. You're asking a little bit more of everybody. Guys have to pitch in maybe a different inning, a different leverage situation. So thank goodness they brought in a guy with experience in David Robertson who can handle that role because they brought him in initially to maybe take a little heat off Sir Anthony, who hadn't pitched a full season, I don't think in his entire career in the big leagues, coming off Tommy John surgery. Workload's piling up. Very important guy. Just to take a little pressure off him, a little workload off him. You bring in a guy like David Robertson, and all of a sudden now Robertson has to assume the bulk of that workload. So really important they get contributions from Alvarado, continued contributions from Alvarado, from Brad Hand, Connor Brogdon, as you mentioned, Andrew Bellotti, who's done a good job, because that bullpen has been a strength, and it's really important they get innings from the starters. I mean, all of a sudden now your starting rotation, is Nola, Suarez, Syndergaard, Falter, and who am I missing? Gibson. Kyle Gibson. So, in Syndergaard, Falter, and Gibson, you got 3 guys who definitely profile as back end guys, 4 5s, 5s, 4s, whatever you want to call them. But Wheeler's a big loss. They need him back healthy. And in the meantime, these guys need to step up like Falter did against the Mets. I mean, you need performances like that. I don't know. Did you watch much of Aaron Nola last night? I mean, I know he got beat by the Mets the time before. It didn't look good. Got an extra day. Thanks to Falter. I mean, thanks to Christopher Sanchez coming in and winning that ball game and got the rotation an extra day. I know the opponent was not nearly the quality that the Mets were, but you can only face the team that they present to you that night. And boy, he was really good Thursday night. I think it's like, I wrote it down. It's like 18 out of 22 starts. He has 1 or 0 walks.
Wow.
High strikeout totals. I mean, he's fourth in the majors in Ks, and he's got an 0.94 ERA. He makes you scratch your head because some nights he just makes mistakes over the plate. They get pounded, and he walks off the mound with his head down, 6 runs in 6 innings. But, I mean, there are just other nights when he is just magnificent, and that was one of them. I mean, he had like 16 swing and misses. He threw 5 different pitches. He got swing and misses on all of them. He had that really great breaking ball. I think he got like half of his swing and misses on that pitch. And like I said, the crowd was up and into it in the 9th inning, gave him a great ovation. His pitch count was totally under control. Just a great outing for Aaron Nola against Cincinnati to finish off that sweep, and they need more of them from Aaron down the stretch here because he's got, as long as Wheeler's out, they're down to basically one top end starter. He's really got to deliver.
Yeah, the Reds are like a 4A team right now, but it's not easy to pitch a shutout against anybody. And
Right.
Aaron Nola is the only pitcher in all of baseball who has a shutout in each of the last 3 seasons, which it's one of those stats that speaks to his annual durability, right up there in innings over the last like 5 years, leading all of baseball in innings pitched.
That's a great word, durability. I mean, durability. Yeah. He just takes the ball. You can depend on him. It's a really good quality for a starting pitcher.
And he's one of the many guys that did step up, in Bryce Harper's absence. One of the many reasons the Phillies have been able to piece together this 70-55 record to this point is because Aaron Nola has had a much better season than he did last year. And, referencing all the pitching injuries that we talked about just now, it helps that the Phillies' next 15 games are against teams with losing records. They have the Pirates coming up. There's Nationals. There's the Marlins a couple times. There's the Giants, who are a game under 500. And the Phillies, unlike seasons past, have really been handling these bad teams. They got swept by the Cubs coming out of the All-Star break, but since then, 16-2 in their last 18 games against sub-500 teams. I guess some of that is a reflection of the manager getting these guys ready every night. And, some of it's also just the Phillies are a much better team, so they're able to, to get out to early leads and jump on a team and develop a 3 or 4 run lead and put a game away early.
No doubt, they're a better team. They're playing better. Their personnel is better. They are a better team. They're playing better defense. The bullpen is better. I mean, both of those were fatal flaws the last 2 years. I mean, the bullpen and defense prevented them from being a playoff team the last 2 years. So they are a better team playing better. And the manager has struck the right tone about how to approach these also ran teams, these teams with losing records. I mean, he addresses it in their hitters meetings. He doesn't beat them over the head with it, but he makes it known that this is a major league ball club over there. We need to act accordingly and take it to them because they would like nothing more to take it to us. And I think it really helps. I think Thompson's a big part of that. I think it helps that they're a better team, as you mentioned. I think it helps that they've added someone, in my opinion, who is a terrific leader, terrific clubhouse guy, and Kyle Schwarber. And you got serious pros in there like Zack Wheeler. So, yeah, good job beating up on those teams, and you have to. And, you got 3 with Pittsburgh, right? 3. And they swept them in a 4-game series. I know Pittsburgh's the last place team. They're even worse than the Reds, but there's going to be guys in that clubhouse with pride that are, trying to play for jobs. So they're going to – you got to go out and you got to stomp on them. And I do think that intensity helps in ball games like this, and Bryce Harper's return is going to really help in that regard, in that intensity. He's going to come out ready, and it's going to rub off on people. You watch. Then they go to Arizona. Played pretty good ball at home. Then they go to San Francisco. They have a winning record at home. They've kind of fallen by the wayside in the wild card race, but if they're going to have one last gasp, they're probably going to have to sweep the Phillies, and I'm sure Gabe Kapler will have them ready to give that a try. So you cannot let up in intensity, and to your point, they've done a great job in that. As they win the games you should win.
Seems pretty obvious that Bryce Harper is going to return to the 3 spot in the lineup. I mean, why wouldn't he? Just curious for your thoughts. Do you think it's just going to push everybody down one? Like, could it be Schwarber, Hoskins, Harper, Real Muto, and then you have Bohm, I guess, moved down from 3 to 5, followed by Castellanos in the 7, 8, 9. Does that sound about right to
Yeah,
you?
it sounds reasonable. Bryce is probably going to hit anywhere he wants to hit. I mean, he was calling his shots throughout this rehab. I mean, there was a time you were hearing September 1 in San Francisco, and then you're hearing Monday night in Arizona, and then you're hearing this weekend. It was because he's the guy making the calls here when he's ready physically, when his legs feel good, um, and when his timing and his bat and his hands and his eyes are all working, his timing's down, he's going to make the call. So um, if he wants to come back in the 3-hole, I expect to see him in the 3-hole, and I think he probably is going to want to hit in the 3-hole. So I don't know what Rob Thompson is going to do with the lineup. He was asked about that on Thursday, and he said that he didn't know. He hadn't talked to Bryce yet, so I don't know if he's got something up his sleeve. But I mean, I tend to think, you saw the way he swung the bat in Lehigh Valley. You saw the team they were with him in the 3-hole and the production he's provided out of the 3-hole the last 2 years. I would put him right back there. To me, the big question is, and I suspect he'd want to be right back there. But to me, the big question is, how's Thompson going to assemble the lineup? Recently, Thompson has given off some vibes that he would like to see Bryson Stott lead off, who's having really good at bats, bringing some on base percentage. And they've done well with him when he's hit there. Recently, I've gotten the vibe that Thompson is intrigued and curious to see what that can look like, and take a power thumper like Kyle Schwarber, put him in the middle in an RBI hole. What would prevent him maybe from doing that tonight or in the short term? Schwarber really likes hitting leadoff. And, there is that old saying about contented cows give sweeter milk. If Kyle Schwarber feels like that's the best environment for him to do damage, I think you have to pay attention to that, So I don't know, when it's coming. Stott lead off, Schwarber toward the middle, driving some more runs. But I have a feeling it might come. Would it come tonight? And would they use the return of Bryce Harper as a route to that? I don't know, but eventually, I think you could see Stott in the leadoff hole. Maybe Hoskins 2, Harper 3. I mean, I don't know what you do with the 2 lefties, Schwarber and Harper. That could be an issue.
Right. That would be like the little problem there is that if you let off Stott, you could have 3 out of 4 hitters who were lefties if you went Harper Schwarber, unless you move Schwarber to the 5 spot. But
like I said, Thompson has hinted he'd like to see. He thinks Stott can do it, and he might like to see more of it. And I don't know how you'd arrange the middle of your batting order. Obviously, matchups would come into play, but I don't think it's out of the question that we see that configuration, something like that. Stott 1 and Schwarber in an RBI hole at some point. I just don't know that we're going to see it out of the gate. If you're winning ball games, why mess with it, right? Why mess with it? So,
although I would say
that it's an unfolding story.
Yeah, although I would say that now would be an opportune time to see if Stott can deliver at the top of the lineup. He's so hot right now. I mean, this kid looks like he's going to be a really good player. He had another nearly game-winning home run the other night against Alexis Diaz, the really good Reds reliever, the brother of Edwin Diaz. Alexis Diaz had been unhittable all month, comes into the 9th inning against the Phillies. They have that game-ending rally. Stott just missed a home run, hit a double off the top of the wall and got to third on the throw. But he's just in a place right now where when he comes up late in a game, you feel like he's going to come through. And that's pretty impressive. It's pretty uncommon for a rookie to be doing that.
Yeah, he's done a great job. We've talked about this before, how it seems like he gets better every day. And it seems like Alec Bohm gets better every day. So that's a really good thing for the organization. 2 of your number 1 picks have gotten basically a full season of the major leagues, have been contributors, helped you win ball games, helped you stay in contention, and on top of it, gotten better every day. Bohm's transformation to me is remarkable, just in personality. He's so much more outgoing and confidence. He's just oozing it on the field and off the field, and it's a lot of fun to watch him play. And eventually, he's going to really learn to use that bat as a power bat and drive the pitches he's supposed to. And I'm just a proponent of letting him hit, letting him become a good hitter, and the power will happen. Don't force it down his throat. But those two guys, and Stott's going to hit for some power just because he's got that natural stroke where there are certain pitches he knows how to backspin with that bat head and get it out of the ballpark. We've seen it. We've seen it a number of times. And really good idea of the strike zone, grinds at bats. That's why Thompson, I think, is curious to see him in the leadoff hole. And it's a delicate situation. It's a delicate situation, and it's going to require some skill on Thompson's part when to play the card. Maybe it is the return of Bryce Harper, perfect kind of line to cross and make the change and maybe better your lineup, or maybe it's down the road. I mean, who knows? But Stott has one of the real – when the dust settles on this season, I mean, obviously you want to go to the playoffs, win a lot of games, make some noise, have a great season. But one of the little, subplots I think that they're going to have to mention in the highlight video is two young players really emerged as everyday big leaguers that you can, I think, count on in the infield for a number of years.
Yeah, to this point, the Phillies, like the story of the 2022 Phillies, is almost followed similarly to the arc of Alec Bohm this season. That things could have come off the rails early. Things could have totally fallen apart. It would have represented more of the same. But then just this dramatic turnaround ensued. So, Jim, with the Phils bearing down on October, there's 37 games left as Bryce Harper returns tonight. The Phils are 70-55, a 2.5-game advantage on the Padres, a 4-game lead on the Brewers, who are the first team out of that wild card race. During this time without Bryce Harper, the Phillies picked up 9 games on the Padres, 6.5 on the Brewers, but they still find themselves 7.5 games behind the Braves for that top wild card spot. So it seems like they're kind of like locked in terms of where the ceiling of where they could finish would be that second wild card spot. And I guess the big concern now is not losing any ground to these teams that they've been able to gain so much on over the last 2 months.
No question. Just keep the pedal to the metal. Stay resilient. They've done a good job in that area. I mean, they came out of the break and were swept by the Cubs. They lost a tough series against the Mets, lose 3 or 4 last weekend. Both times, people are wringing their hands about, oh boy, what's going to happen here? And both times the team has really bounced back with good runs. So they sweep a team they really should at least win a series against. In Cincinnati, you win 4 against them. You need to keep it going against Pittsburgh Pirates and then take it on the road with you to Arizona and San Francisco. You need a good series against San Francisco to make sure they stay out of the wild card chase. And you need to keep piling up wins so you can maybe – if you can X out Milwaukee, now all of a sudden you're clinching a playoff, a wild card berth. And now it just matters, or the thing you look at is you're going to be second or third. So it all starts with W's. Just keep putting up W's and everything will take care of itself.
Well, Phillies fans, the night is here. The moment has arrived. Bryce Harper will be back in the Phillies lineup Friday night as they open a 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's Jim Salisbury. I'm Corey Seidman. Thanks a lot for listening to the Phillies Talk podcast. We'll be back early next week.